But
We talk about
now,
it next time.
in the sort of like in the fifth part of the movie, the politics drops like a lead weight. We've been hinting at it before. And his, Uncle Sam sort of like exponent, Colonel Troutman shows up. And it's
Wait,
like,
is his name actually Sam?
It's actually Sam, yes.
Shit.
It's
He shows up and he goes, "Hey, while you were not paying attention, every cop in the world just rolled up outside and they have you surrounded.
It's like the end
Can
of
we
Red Dead
talk
Redemption out there.
Yeah. Can you as a man now talk about your emotions even one time?
Can we please, for the love of God, check in with our blokes?
Guys will literally shoot up the town of Hope, Washington, rather than go to therapy.
Yes. Yeah. And so Rambo does go to therapy, and what Rambo says is,
and I did what I had to do to win, but somebody wouldn't let us win. And I come back to the world, and I see all those maggots at the airport protesting me, spitting, calling me a baby killer and all kinds of vile crap.
Now, we get some fucking politics. So, first of all, we got to start with, I did what I had to do to win the Vietnam War.
Yeah.
Which is,
again,
the war crimes.
Further alluding to the war crimes that Troutman alluded to earlier with Rambo, and I got confused with Vietnam, to be sure.
Yep. Absolutely no contradiction between that and taking it really personally to be called a baby killer. But second of all, somebody wouldn't let us win. Yeah. And I don't think he means the People's Army of Vietnam.
No, of course he doesn't.
I think... No, come on. It's a Dolstos legenda. It's exactly the same thing as like World War One, where it's like somebody was disloyal, and now because they hated America, they humiliated our veterans. That's it's. I mean, it's
he hates the hippies. He hates the fucking like the culture back home that forced the end of the war. He hates fucking Hanoi Jane. Like, but here's my fucking take. All of that's good because he would. Like, this character would. Like, I accept to you fully, I accept the politics of this movie are extremely bad and they will only get worse over the course of this. But I think that this is the only movie in which there is, like, a quite reasonable anti-war reading, just based on going, this is what Rambo would think.
Yeah,
this is like what this character would...
I agree with Devon, because Rambo goes on this rant, and it starts with Colonel Sam saying, Rambo, it's over. And he says, nothing is over. You don't just turn it off. And he talks about how I can't sleep. I'm jumpy all the time. He says, out there I was elite, I won medals. Here I can't fucking hold down a job at a car wash. Then he goes into the political bit, which is not all of it. It's just the middle section. And the third section of this rant, which is fucking beautifully acted.
So well done.
I disagree that it's beautifully acted. It made me laugh my fucking ass off because the emotional core of this is the Stallone diction lets him down, and he talks about how his friend got blown up and the fucking I have the drop.
Oh, man, I want to go home, Johnny. I want to drop my Chevy. I doing what? I can't find your fucking legs. I can't find your legs.
This is
brilliant.
This is nonsense. It's melodrama.
No, it's not. It's beautiful because he's not articulate in this moment. He's lost in time. He doesn't know where the fuck he is. It's realistic that he wouldn't be the most articulate guy in the world.
It's not inarticulate in a way that, like, of a guy undergoing emotional turmoil. It's inarticulate in the way of a bad actor.
It's not. It's inarticulate in the way of a man who is crying as he says this. And, like, it is kind of funny and it is kind of absurd that he's like, I want to go home and drive my Chevy. He's like, but I can't fucking find your legs. It is one of those, like, brutal, dark moments. Like that fucking line that Harrison Ford had in fucking Harrison Ford versus Everyone in Ireland, whatever the fuck that movie was called, where he's like...
Patriot Games.
Patriot Games, where they were like, they could only save part of her spleen. And that was a line that you laughed at. And I was just like, fuck me, that is powerful. Because it is the kind of, like, absurd, realistic, unusual sentence that you would say when you're in a very unusual and very bleak scenario. No, I'm sorry, this scene is fucking beautiful, like, especially in the context of the fact that throughout the rest of the film, Rambo is almost completely taciturn, and here the floodgates just open. It was like, gorgeous.
Name for me a different film. Like, it's incredible to see a movie end where, like, the emotional core of it, like the fucking denouement for this character is that he breaks down, and that's the end of the movie. That's never gonna fucking happen again. I'll tell you that for fucking free. Not in this goddamn series of movies.
I think you're both giving it way too much credit, both politically and emotionally.
Yes, I am.
I think you are like invited very much to sympathize with the idea that, first of all, that, you know, the woke pussies at home made it so you like actually did lose the Vietnam War, and yes, Rambo is damaged, but it's kind of like both sidesing it, where it's like, oh, they didn't care, but also like the hippies didn't either, right? Which is nihilistic and fascistic. And the second thing is, he says, when I got home, they protested me, they spat at me, and they called me a baby killer. And there is a book called The Spitting Image, Myth, Memory, and the Legacy of Vietnam by Jerry Lemke, which I highly recommend. And part of the thing is, this has been a very successful right-wing narrative that anti-war protesters were, in general, disrespectful to veterans, and in the specific spat on them. And they can find not one credible instance of this ever happening. It is purely a myth. As far as anyone knows, it never happened. And it's sort of like, it's a tool to divide American public opinion and totally obliterate the legacy of any kind of anti-war activism by veterans, of which there was a lot. Fucking John Kerry testified in front of Congress about, like, being asked to die for a mistake, and he just does not figure in this analysis at all. Neither does anyone else. Neither does anyone, like, throwing medals over the White House fence in disgust, because you're only allowed to sympathize on the level of, the guy got his friend's legs blown off and that's sad, instead of any of them ever felt anything about it that made them want to do anything.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like a consciously nihilistic thing that is an attempt to, like, defang and like disarm any kind of American anti-war and specifically anti-Vietnam War politics.